Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our Snowfall Season 4, Episode 3 review. We've got a lot to get into in this video. In between, Franklin is starting to progress down a very interesting, dangerous, delicate path, all of the above.
Yep.
You know, it's an episode where a lot of things are kind of shifted. There's not one, I think, singular jaw-dropping moment, and I say that knowing full well that Teddy and Gustavo killed a heck of a lot of, Snowfall red shirts at the end of all of this.
Yeah, this is an episode that's really digging deeper into Franklin and sort of him realizing that he needs to insulate himself a lot more, that he can't just be doing things the way that he is. He's balancing a lot right now, and he needs to insulate further, and this episode he really showed how he was going to do that.
We will get into all of it. There's a lot that happened, even if some of them are a little bit more subtle. But if you guys enjoy this video, subscribe to the channel. We are here every week talking about Snowfall. We'll take you through the body count, because there may be a big one depending on the episode,
Yep.
the big surprises, a whole lot of other stuff. You know, we don't want you guys to miss anything we're talking about.
Okay, so we have everything. We're going to start with Franklin and Nix and that whole thing. I mean, we saw this in the first two episodes where Franklin was like, all right, I'm going to give you a bunch of money. I'm going to tell you where Scully's guys are. You can go take care of him and everyone. So I'm giving you cash. I'm giving you a rest. You're welcome. And then Nix and his two buddies just rolled up to the apartment and was like, nope, we're being set up. How dare you? And then he went and threatened Alton. So we had this scene at the beginning where Franklin's reading a book, eating a sandwich, not feeling that great. And Nick sits down and is just like, yeah, you set me up. And Franklin's like, I didn't set you up. And he didn't set him up. It was such a... It feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity, because Franklin doesn't really have like a one big bad that's after him. And I was kind of hoping that Nix was going to become that character who was maybe a bit smarter than he actually was on this show, that he couldn't figure out that Franklin was not setting him up, and that this could have been a relationship that went back and forth and was very lucrative for both of them. But instead, he just wasn't smart enough to figure out how to actually get this arrest and make things happen for himself. It was like Franklin was going to have to lead him to do everything instead of becoming like this. Could have been a really good back and forth between the two of them.
Does Nick suck? I kind of feel like Nick sucks. I feel like he could have been something a little bit more. He's just so hung up on... Oh, I guess I understand the fact that Andre got killed, and I think he is still in this place. He can't get over it.
Yeah, and I get that. But then if you're gonna go there, then, don't take the money from Franklin. Pick a lane. You can't be taking money from Franklin, then also still being mad. It puts you in this situation where you're just not really anywhere.
Maybe Nix is just not cut out for this job. Maybe Nix and his mustache need to go somewhere else, and I guess they did go somewhere else by the end of all of this.
Yeah, his mustache is down in evidence, doing nothing forever now. Well done, you idiot.
Well, you can't just show up at, Franklin's place and, haul sissy around and not expect any consequences.
Okay, we gotta talk about that, because that whole thing where they switched cars and Nick started driving her and was playing weird polka music and bringing her to this dark area, I was like, kudos to the show for that, because that had me with a horrible pit in my stomach. I didn't know what was gonna happen. I was getting Sons of Anarchy season 2 Gemma vibes. I was so worried. I thought there was going to be a whole group of cops waiting at that graveyard. I didn't know what was going to happen there. It was really bad.
That whole thing was really legitimately intense, because the polka music was just psychotic.
It was so psychotic.
I think the only place I've ever heard polka music in a way that was not either creepy or terrifying was a restaurant I went to one time, because that's not something you play in the cop car. Also, you bring somebody to somebody's grave. Name one crime drama where something not terrible has happened at a cemetery.
Yeah, no, I was at least glad to see that it wasn't going the ways of Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
It was still bad. I mean, it was sort of I guess, another, not revelation, but another sort of step into Sissy being like, all right, Andre was killed by my son. And she doesn't have 100% proof, but she's got enough. She knew before. Then you've got Nick's being like, your son did this, and it was sort of all confirmed at the end when she was picked up by the family, and she was, he was like, what did he say to you? And she was like, nothing I didn't already know.
It's heartbreaking in a lot of ways, and I think at the same time you see Sissy throughout this episode. She's trying to sort of guide Franklin in a way so that maybe, I don't know if it's, and maybe she thinks she can save him, but it may be just the situation of, if he's going to be involved in this sort of world, I'm going to try to at least use some of my know-how and expertise. I can see potentially there being sort of a parallel between Franklin and Sissy, and then Tasha and Tariq from Power. But the big difference here is that Franklin is a much stronger character than Tariq. Let's make that clear. I'm not putting that out into the universe.
Right, I was about to have
comment
to show
section
you the door.
is going to like gasoline all over me. But no, I think there's an interesting sort of dynamic that is going on between the two of them, and it plays so much into the bookstore stuff and everything that's going on there. Before
we get to the bookstore stuff, I do want to say that it was really nice to see Louie and Jerome show up at that scene with Sissy after everything happened, because we know from the first 2 episodes that they're not really talking right now with everything that's been going on with Franklin. But family's family, and it was good to just see them show up, no matter if she wanted them there or not.
This is the biggest flaw in this episode, by the way. There was like almost no Jerome, very little Louie. It's like, give me more. We've already professed we're big Jerome fans here at the channel.
The one scene that we had with him that I also really liked, besides that one, was the stuff with Manboy, because Louie said it where she was just like, I don't know about Manboy. He's really ambitious. Maybe we shouldn't be continuing to work with him. Like, he's going to be a problem down the road. It's already down the road. Like, they're exchanging stuff, and he's already like, it could just be the 3 of us. Everything going on with Franklin. What do you guys think? Just putting it out there. He is planting seeds with Franklin's own family. It is episode 3.
Things are gonna go bad here. Like, this is the real reality of this situation, is that there's I don't know how Franklin ends up getting out of some of the situations, and like we have sort of said, there's not one singular big bad, but there's a lot of just problems and fires that he has to put out. And the bookstore stuff, like, this is about as heartbreaking, I think, of a storyline as I've seen on Snowfall, because it just sort of shows that how deep Franklin is now, where he's gotten to this point where he's so just intent on protecting and preserving his own empire that he's willing to go the great lengths, screw these poor people out of their store, out of their property, with these notions of him wanting to help them, and then at the end being like, oh yeah, by the way, that's Davis. That's all taken care of now over there. You guys got till Friday. It really was sad.
That was a really tough scene. That scene where he walked back in and was like, you guys have till Friday. Sorry for your luck, but not really. I mean, I get where Franklin is coming from, that he is in a situation now that he needs to find a way to insulate himself the best way he can.
Yeah.
And starting to make these connections with, people in government anywhere he can. I mean, he was able to get the police chief to be able to move Nick's down into the cellar somewhere and just sit in evidence forever. He needs those kinds of connections to continue on, and unfortunately it's coming at the expense of the community and his community, a community that he's already hurting with his drugs.
It's, I don't want to keep comparing it to other shows, but the Walter White parallel here is just that, to me, we've seen good in Franklin. Franklin and a lot of TV characters. There's all sorts of dimensions to them, but I think Franklin is getting so far into this situation where he has to think in terms of, what do I do to keep this going? And instead, he's not thinking about who am I going to hurt along the way? And here you have two people, and they even had like a take a book, leave a book thing. I saw it in the background.
I saw the take a book, leave a book. I love that. I'm from Toronto, and in Toronto, they have those take a book, leave a book, little like, you know, cubbies everywhere in the city where you can take a book, leave a book. I saw it, I was like, oh, these guys, they're gonna get screwed.
Franklin, I love Franklin, but Franklin's probably not the only time Franklin's gonna make me sad this season. Like, I mean, let's be real about it, but...
No, I think it's a situation where Franklin knows he needs to do what he needs to do to be able to get through stuff, and he may not like it, and trying to sort of harden himself towards that to get to the end of stuff like this, but it's hard to watch.
Yeah, it's not easy, and you know what? You know, Franklin, he needs a little bit more, I think, of his humanity, and I think he needs more allies, people he can rely on, people he needs himself a Leon.
So Franklin and Leon, they really need to get their friendship back on track. I mean, Franklin is in such a bad place, and yeah, he's insulating himself, but he needs somebody like Leon back in his life, someone who's been a friend of his forever, knows him almost better than anyone. And, you know, the same for Leon. Leon needs Franklin back, not just for friendship, but also because of what is going on with the product that he is selling. So he is selling an inferior product. It is already selling the product in the community, is hurting the community, but now he's selling a product that's inferior, that's hurting people even more. We had that really brilliant scene with Wanda where she was pulling out her own teeth, and she was looking in the mirror, pulling out her own teeth, and you could see it just for that second where she kind of was like, what am I doing? What am I doing to myself? I don't think that this is going to be enough to get her past it, or I hope it would be, but I don't think so. I mean, this is a really intense drug, but it was telling at that point that someone who is so dependent on this drug is now, even just for a moment, being like, this is not the way that I thought that it was.
I think what this show has done a good job at, and I think a lot of other shows that kind of revolve around this subject matter, they don't do it as well as sort of seeing, you know, this stuff really legitimately is hurting other characters. Like, this is not something we're glorifying, you know, the trade that Franklin is in. He is getting money, he's building power, and yeah, that may be good for Franklin, but look what it's doing to the world around them.
This show has done an incredible job. I mean, you brought up Breaking Bad, you go over there, and it is really about Walt and Jesse and everything that they're doing, and sort of like, yeah, and all the power that's going on in that show, and they don't really show as much how it's actually affecting the community and the people that are taking this. Where over on Snowfall, they're doing a way better job of that, where they're showing sort of the building of the empire and where they're going with this, but also people like Wanda and how it's been affecting her, or Mel and how her life has completely changed. I mean, from where we first saw her, sort of Franklin's love, the girl next door, her getting involved in this drug, and how, what a dark turn that took, and now where she is, where she's found gone, living with her aunt. I mean, it has taken her on like almost like a lifetime journey in a few months.
I don't even know when Mel's going to show up again at this point, if she even is, because, yeah, she wasn't really involved now. We've seen where she's gone, but there's a lot to get into more with that, I guess, in the future. But you talked earlier about, is there another threat out there for Franklin? And I think this show is trying to point towards Irene, the reporter, and being like, okay, she's a threat, she's getting closer, she's recognizing that there's this DEA person that she might need to go and seek out. How did Franklin manage to get himself out of this situation? All of this is good, but I've seen enough shows to know that, like, the reporter, Snowfall's not going to end in season 4 because Irene the reporter busts Franklin Sate and then he goes to jail.
No, I said this in our premiere review, and we'll link that for you below, but this is a story that we've seen multiple times on other shows, where there's always a reporter, it's trying to dig stuff up, and they always end up dead, or not, completely done,
Yeah.
disposed of. They're never the person that really breaks through and changes everything. This isn't the story of Irene the reporter. This is the story of Franklin and his family and everything that's going on with him. And it's not going to end with Irene is the hero that brings him down, because she's not the hero.
No, I think this is all just a reminder of, I think this is going to be a way for Snowfall to show how much Franklin gets himself insulated by other people, because here's the person who's actively trying to break down those walls, and I think she's going to continually run into people who are just like, no, this wall is made of steel, you cannot touch it or knock it down.
Yeah, and I think after seeing what happened to Nyx and how Franklin was able to work that situation as quickly as he did, I mean, he's really insulated now.
You mentioned people being dead a minute ago. So speaking of people being dead, the real, I feel like there's like a contractual requirement that every Snowfall needs at least like 30 seconds of just like crazy, insane action. Yep. And we get it from Gustavo's got like zero chill whatsoever when it comes to, I'm not having peace in this situation. I'm not listening to these federal agents on this. I'm going to do what I want. I'm doing it now.
Oh yeah, that revenge tour was something else.
Gustavo is intense, man.
No, and I will say that this season has done an even better job of sort of bringing Teddy and Gustavo, like bringing them together in this like really weird friendship, working relationship, everything that's going on. It is really strange.
Gustavo does not care whatsoever that Teddy is CIA. He did not care about anything other than, his own people got killed.
Yep.
He was not thrilled about it. He decided that they were going to have a 2-person raid on Fuentes' entire compound. And yet, here's the thing. This should all be really unbelievable that these two guys are able to, like, take out all of these people, including, like, the chief of freaking police.
It should be unbelievable, but it was so good.
But it really wasn't, because I was just like, oh, look, here is Gustavo is in the car with him. Oh, no, now he's like, here's the thing I couldn't figure out, though, is like, did Gustavo really want Fuentes to die? Because he was just sort of like holding on to. I think he wanted him to die.
Oh, I think he wanted him to die, and he wanted to see the life go out of his eyes. Like, it was just such a revenge tour.
I just didn't know if he wanted to interrogate him more or whatever was going on there. But it was like, okay, yeah, Fuentes, this is not ending well for you. You clearly needed to make your $100,000 threat onto somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he thought. I mean, obviously he didn't know Gustavo well enough to understand that this is what was going to happen. Obviously he didn't really know that Teddy was CIA, that he's also got some connections, and that it was just going to end up like this.
Here is the one problem I have with Gustavo, and far be it from me to criticize Gustavo because I just saw what he did to Fuentes.
Please tell me that we don't need him knocking on our door.
See, here's the thing though. Who's going to replace Fuentes now? Because I'm pretty sure Gustavo does not have a direct line to the line of succession when it comes to the police department here. Who's not to say that, like, the next person's going to be, like, even more corrupt and say, give me $200,000.
I'm sure they will hear the horror tales and they will be like, I'm fine with the 5 from the guy before him.
I'm fine. And as a matter of fact, Gustavo, I will pay you to come to my kid's birthday party dressed as the wrestler.
Yeah, I think the thing that this season is missing a little bit, and hopefully they're going to bring it in, not in the form of Irene, but sort of maybe with Manboy a little bit. They did kind of circle that a bit. They really need someone really smart that's going to be really a good threat for Franklin, because he is really insulated now. That I'm not really sure who it could be, because it's not going to be Irene, but somebody in his own organization or someone that he's working with could be that.
Let's put on let's give everybody else the thinking caps, because we're going to ask all of them. Who do you think could be the real big bad this season? Is Franklin his own big bad? All right, well, whatever. Let us know in the comments, and if you like this video, subscribe, give us a like. You can support us further. Check those links to the store, our Patreon as well, and we'll see you here next time.